Why yes, there's another video today. Sony decided to drop 3 new products today. And we told them we were coming back from Japan. They're like, oh good. Jason Vivienne's vacation's over. Let's just drop 3 new products today just to mess with them.
Why, Sony, why?
Well, joke's on them. It's stuff that I genuinely care about and what the community is looking forward to. So let's get on with it, shall we?
After 4 long years since the launch of the a6700, we finally have its true successor.
Not just a photo camera, not just a video camera, and certainly not just a vlogging camera, but a jam-packed, damn good slam dunk of a hybrid camera. This is the new Sony a6700. This has
26 megapixel back illuminated sensor, new AI autofocus system, 5-axis in-body image stabilization, 14 plus stops of dynamic range, 4K 120 frames per second 10-bit 422, and so much more.
So, is this a Sony APS-C camera of our dreams, or did it fall short of our expectations? Let's find out at the happiest place on earth, Disneyland.
Tell me I'm the one you want. Tell me I'm the reason your heart beats and it won't stop.
With full-frame cameras coming down in size and even in price, is there a point to still even get APS-C cameras anymore? It's a question that I ask myself every day. And the answer still today is yes. While the gap is getting smaller, APS-C ecosystem can easily wind out to be a lot more cost-effective in the long run and having a much smaller footprint overall if you build your kit right. Oh, I should put on my glasses. Okay,
Wow.
So something like this is perfect for Disneyland, family trips in general. Got a light 1.4 prime for low light, a nice mid-range versatile zoom lens for 70% of the day, and a telephoto for some of these random parades we'll be seeing. All in this little bag right here. All I'm missing is an actual family now. There has been a lot of new and great lenses that has been coming out for APS-C. We got the famous Sigma 1.4 Quartet now, formerly the Trios, but Sigma just added the 23mm f1.4 last spring. Not to mention they have their killer tiny little zoom right here, the 18 to 50mm f2.8, all of which are excellent in image quality and at a great deal. And Sony themselves dropped 3 of their own APS-C lenses last summer, most notably the 11mm f1.8, widest and fastest autofocus prime available. And Tamron's got some great stuff too, but I can't keep dropping names so people don't get mad at me for not calling out their favorite lenses. Yes, Viltrox's great too, Michael. Sit down.
Yes, Michael, sit your butt back down.
But the point I'm trying to get at is, most of these great lenses lack optical stabilization. So when you pair it with a camera that doesn't have in-body image stabilization, like the a6400 or the ZVE10, videos end up looking very shaky. Either we have to be super mindful or choose other alternatives that do have lens stabilization, but not at the aperture we might want. But the a6700 does have in-body image stabilization. In fact, some of the best that I've seen in this series, right up there with the FX30. Handheld videos look incredible, and even the issue with rolling shutter that we've seen in previous iterations has largely dissipated.
Great for beginners.
The Sony a6700 is much more user-friendly. Menu is way more organized compared to its predecessor, the screen is now fully touch capable, and if you're a beginner, auto mode works like taking a photo with your phone. On the corner of the screen right here with the star twinkle is the My Image Style function, which allows you to adjust the amount of background blur, the overall brightness of the image, and balancing the colors, all with a few sliders. So it's never been easier using a dedicated camera like this and getting the look that you want. But if you're no stranger to Sony, there are a lot to celebrate here too. User experience. For the first time ever, a flip-out screen for the a6000 series. Now, I did prefer the flip-up style on the a64 and a6600, but alas, there is no arguing with the popularity of a flip-out style screen. Good for selfie vlogging and even greater for vertical portrait framing.
I'm gonna post this on Instagram.
But I do appreciate the bump in LCD resolution. Not quite as high as the FX30, but I'm just happy that we can use sunny weather bright monitoring even in 4K 120p. It just helps immensely filming in broad daylight such as today. And if that's not enough, we still got the viewfinder. At first glance, it may look like the other a6000 series cameras that came before it, but with a closer examination, it's actually taking design elements from the A7C with a few modifications. We have an extra wheel in the front now to control either the shutter or aperture, which is nice. We now have a secondary wheel under the main dial to switch between photo, video, and S&Q mode, which speeds up the workflow for hybrid shooters. And while it has one custom button less than the previous a6600, the touchscreen UI added more options on the screen, thus freeing up more of the physical buttons on the camera to be reprogrammed. And no, you cannot reprogram the touchscreen UI. The hot shoe here has been updated to now support a wide array of Sony digital mics, including the new ECM M1. The SD card has been moved to the side here where all the IOs are. Sorry, no CF Express Type A support. And USB-C for better webcam support and fast charging. But the strap rings, ooh, pretty loud. Even though it looks bigger than the a6600, it actually weighs slightly less, 506 grams versus 515 grams. Grip-wise, it's not as full as the FX30, but it's meatier than the a6600 for sure.
Oh, Jason.
Autofocus. Trickling down from the A7R5, we have the brand new AI autofocus feature. So in addition to human and animals, we now have birds, cars, trains, and planes, and even bugs in the latest A6000 series, in both photo and video. Super overkill, to be honest. However, if you shoot these particular subjects already, you'll be glad to have that recognition. But if you don't, give it a try anyways. I never consider myself a bird photographer, but the amount of bird photos I've taken within the last several years have dramatically increased because we have bird eye autofocus. All in all, it's a welcomed feature. So we're here at Princess Pavilion looking to capture some princesses.
I don't know you.
No, capturing princess as in capturing their photos, not capturing in a kidnapping sense.
Ugh.
Human and animal autofocus have a subtle but big upgrade. It now has AI post-estimation, so even when the subject is completely turned around, the camera can kind of guess where the eyes are. It's a long-winded way of saying the accuracy has gone up. Speaking of gone up, we're also going up from 425 face detection autofocus points to a whopping 759. A much larger screen coverage means even when the subject is falling off to the very edge of the screen, the camera will still be able to keep focus locked on them. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
That's quite essential.
Oh.
Priceless items. I know what that. I deal with that the same.
That's great. I have a machine that can capture memories, and I would like to capture you guys. Maybe an individual after. Ready? Ooh, this is nice. I like this one right here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now, can I get one individual?
Absolutely.
Can I have you do a twirl for me? Yeah. Give me 1 second, okay? And 3, 2, 1. Go for it. That's great. Thank you so much. And then for you, well, let's do a twirl. I think it'll be great.
You ready? Because I've been practicing.
Yes. Let's have you stand in the middle of the pillar right there. Thank you so much, Flynn. Yeah, the lighting is beautiful on you. And 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! Oh, love it. Love this motor. Thank you so much. All right, time to test out the 11 frames per second burst.
You just missed it.
With JPEGs, of course, we can rack up thousands of images easy, but if you plan on bursting with RAWs, you're gonna be able to squeeze in more frames before the camera slows down if you shoot compressed versus lossless. Now, strangely enough, there isn't an option for uncompressed RAW in the a6700, but lossless is touted to be similar enough where it holds all the necessary image data, but at a reduced file size. I'm someone who's been shooting with compressed RAW for many years now with no issues, but this may come as a disappointment for some folks, especially those who do astro and stars. But I'm curious, if you have experience with lossless and uncompressed RAW, let us know in the comments down below if you see any perceivable difference, if lossless is just as good.
So that was 11 frames per second, actually kept up really well. But I do wish there was a slight bump in the frames per second, maybe something like 15.
For several years now, the APS-C community have been looking forward to the mythical Baby A9, where we would get the similar 20 frames per second no blackout shooting. While there wasn't a promise of something like that by Sony officially, it would have been nice to see something more than 11 in the a6700. Perhaps we'll find that Baby A9 in a a6900. Nice.
Viewfinder.
I swear I'm getting 50 shades darker just waiting for this parade to happen, but we have to be here an hour early in order to get the best view of the parade. It's summer, it's hot, you can probably see in the footage right now, everything is looking blown out, no different from what our eyes can see. But the one thing I can count on in these trying times is a viewfinder. Immensely helpful for blocking out that high noon sun. I can't believe I have to bring this up as a feature because the lack of the viewfinder was honestly the biggest deal breaker for me when it came to buying my own ZV-E10 and FX30. And despite the FX30 having the better LCD display, it still doesn't have enough nits to combat that harsh sun. Nothing beats staring into the viewfinder for better visibility and exposure accuracy, and it's brighter than the previous iterations.
Crop sensor advantage.
Now, normally I would use a 70 to 350mm APS-C mega zoom lens, but today's a little special.
Why is that?
We got the brand new 70 to 200mm f4G Mark II, which is actually a full-frame lens. Sure, we can use APS-C mode on most full-frame cameras, but unless you have an A1 or an A7R camera, you're likely going under 18 megapixels. With the a6700, you're getting the full 26 with any full-frame lenses. Now we're shooting in aperture priority right now, but because there are a ton of dancing going on, I'm raising my ISO to 640. That way the camera determines a high shutter speed to freeze the action. I guess we can do shutter speed priority too, to be honest. Ready, rolling?
And rolling. Beautiful, hold that there.
The difference between using this lens on a full-frame camera versus APS-C is the reach. With a full frame, we're getting the advertised 200mm, but with any APS-C cameras, we gotta take in the 1.5 times crop factor into consideration. So mount this on the a6700, we're actually getting a 105 to 300mm equivalent. Wow, exposure actually looks pretty good. I was kind of worried for a second with the harsh light, but
Was it worth camping out here for an hour in the sun?
everything is really properly exposed. Even in spotty lighting conditions like these, the new auto exposure algorithm controls the exposure on the skin areas quite well. And I guess fur areas too. No overexposure here.
Megapixels.
There has been a bump in megapixels, but probably not as much as some people might have hoped. From 24.2 to just 26 megapixels. So if you're expecting 30 megapixel, you might be disappointed to hear this. In my opinion, 26 megapixel is plenty. It's not gonna be too different from what you're already used to, unless of course you have already experienced higher megapixel from a different system. However, let's switch gear and talk about video.
Video.
4K 120p, baby. I thought they would tap out at 4K 60p and save the 120 for the FX30, but Sony pulled back the cripple hammer and gave us the hybrid spec that the a6000 series truly deserves. Thank you for not hindering this camera. Although I should mention the 4K 120p does have a crop, but by no means unusable. Just like its predecessor, it's technically shooting 6K, but the camera downsamples it to 4K, giving us much crisper results. Even when we're not shooting 4K 120, doing a post-punch it at 150 to 200% will still look pretty good. On top of that, we're getting all the latest video features, a breathing compensation, better bitrates in S&Q, a dedicated video time-lapse option, 10-bit 422, 600 megabits per second all-intro recording, and even the illustrious
Acinetone.
S-Log 3 workflow has been a lot more streamlined. We now have a quick access function to toggle on log shooting with the ability to import our own favorite LUTs and choose whether or not we want to bake that into our footage during recording. And while we do have dual base ISO like the FX30, we do not have the Cine EI feature found in the FX series. Basically, the Cine EI limits you into using the two cleanest ISOs, 800 and 2500, whereas flexible ISO is just like how we would normally use it, manually going through all the ISO options. Not a big deal as that function is intended for the cinema line anyway, hence Cine EI. But all in all, we're getting 95% of the best video features from the FX30 in the a6700.
Recording test.
So we've been here since the early mornings, taking over 2,000 photos, filmed some 4K videos in between, and we only had to swap battery just once, which by the way, this uses the bigger FZ100 battery. Oh, and no signs of overheating. But let's push it to see what we can get in long form recording. With 4K 30p 8-bit 420, we're getting just under 2 hours of recording time with no heat warning. When filming in 4K 24p 10-bit 422, we're getting roughly 2 hours and 9 minutes of recording time, also with no heat warning. In our test, it outlasted the FX30 in terms of battery life, which that got roughly an hour and 41 minutes of recording time. Perhaps the built-in fan on the FX30 draws more battery. Now, these are really good recording times with these frame rates. However, if you plan on doing a lot of long-form 4K 60 recording, then you might want to consider picking up the FX30. In either of the HS or AW-Intra codec, we're getting roughly 30 minutes of recording time before the a6700 has to shut off due to high temperature, with the heat warning popping up around the 23-24 minute mark. On the other hand, the FX30 was able to max out the 128GB memory card with no sweat thanks to its built-in fan. Now keep in mind, we're getting much shorter recording time with the AW-Intra SI codec because it's recording a lot of data per frame. And while I don't think a lot of people would do long-form 120p recording, here's the result anyway.
Now on to these test results.
Just under 19 minutes on the a6700, while the FX30 maxed out the card at 53.5 minutes. If you do intermittent 4K 60p or 120p for slow motion purposes, then you will not need to worry about overheating. Let's go ahead and take a look at the low light performance.
Low light.
All right, now we got the old trusty Pirates ride for some low light test.
Oh, Jason.
Let's take a look at the high ISO noise performance. With standard picture profile, I'm not seeing too much of a difference in terms of noise when comparing with the a6600 and the ZV-E10, other than the color signs on the newer cameras are better. But to maximize the dynamic range of these cameras, we need to shoot in S-Log 3, and immediately, the difference is staggering at ISO 32,000. Before we get into price and would I recommend it, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and comment to help increase the exposure of this video. Because you know us photographers and filmmakers, we can always use more exposure bucks. But for real, if you want to go the extra mile, there's the one-time custom amount donation via the Super Thanks button to help fund for the Vong community's very own a6700. With the money, we'll be creating future setup guides, tutorials, and follow-up reviews on the channel. It's completely optional, but hey, it would really help. If not, the greatest support that you can always give is simply watch every single video that comes out on this channel. Many T. Hanks.
Price and would I recommend it?
Cha-ching! $13.99 USD. And it's shipping early August. Not a bad price, same as the a6600 when it first launched. I think it's time for me to buy this camera. And we'll have separate videos comparing the a6700 against the other cameras soon, but for now, here's a general summary. As always, when it comes to strictly photography, if you got something that still works well for still life, then you're not gonna feel a huge improvement in terms of image quality. Just buy better lenses. Sure, the overall user experience is better, the new AI autofocus capability is nice, but unless you need it for animals, birds, cars, trains, or even planes, regular old human eye autofocus is good enough. But if you're shooting a lot of fast-paced action, the tracking autofocus improvement on this camera is gonna give you that speed boost that you need. Moving on, if you have any of the previous a6000 series cameras and you straight up just need better video features, then absolutely 100%, no questions asked, why are you still even watching? Click the link down below and upgrade right now. This is a nice middle ground between the ZV-E10 and the FX30. It gives us exactly what we need at a fair price point. If we needed better stabilization over the ZV-E10, pay the extra and get this. If we wanted the better video features without the extra card slot or fan design found in the FX30, then save the money and get this. And you'll be glad you chose this over the other two solely because of this viewfinder alone. I cannot emphasize how helpful it is, especially if you're gonna be behind the camera a lot. While the a6700 isn't bringing anything new to the alpha table, it is caught up. And that's not a bad thing. It's giving us everything a hybrid camera should in 2023. Unless you're ready to move on to full frame, this is probably the best APS-C hybrid camera to get. Well, still no boat autofocus. Let me know in the comments down below if this is something you're picking up. Thanks for watching, and here's a word from our lovely sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to create beautiful websites. You don't need any coding knowledge whatsoever. Simply just choose from their many easy-to-use templates. Perfect for people like us who want to focus on our travels and make YouTube videos for you guys, but still want a presentable website for brands that are looking to work with us. Whether you're building your own photography portfolio, an e-commerce store, or even a landing page for your business, design it with Squarespace. Get a 14-day trial with my link below and try it for yourself. When you're ready to launch, you can save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with my code Jason Vong. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Tell me I'm the one you want. Tell me I'm the reason your heart beats and it won't stop. I wanna be the feeling you in after all your life. Maybe is it too much to ask?
Ooh, sorry.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah!